fresh insights.
I'm Micah Solomon, and I'm sitting down today with Girish Mathrubootham, who is the co-founder and CEO of Freshworks. I think a lot of people watching this are familiar with the current state of G, but even so, we'd love to hear some of the highlights from your career up to this point.
If I think about what has really made me happy over the last 20 years, I think I'm a product manager at heart, and I've really enjoyed building products that customers love. And I think it all started with a very simple life lesson early on in my career when I was a trainer. And during my training sessions, I've actually observed how painful it was for customers to work with clunky software with complicated UX. And probably I think that left a deep impression on my mind that I made it almost the mission of my life to build software products that are easy to use. So I think probably that's what I would like to call upon. Give me any day, I can keep going back to building products that are focused on solving end user pain and delighting customers.
And in your day-to-day here, do you get enough time doing that?
I always wish I had more time to work on products. And what I realized was while I was building products, I never had a chance to run finance or HR or sales. And as the CEO of Freshworks, in the early days, I really realized that I had no experience in doing any of this. But then I came up with this tweet, I don't know if you've seen it, which is, I said, building a company is very similar to building a product, where culture is the UX for employees and customer service the UX for customers. So I guess that's the approach I've taken in terms of really thinking of all these other teams, which is HR and finance, which I have no experience managing. I think of them as features that I'm building, and Freshworks is now the product that I'm building.
So, G, you founded this company in Chennai and then personally moved here a couple of years ago. What was the reason for the move?
See, we started Freshworks from Chennai, India, but we've always been a global company from day one. And people who have seen me through the journey know how important it is for us to establish Freshworks as a global product company that came out of India. So I'm super proud of that. But something happened in 2018 when I realized how big this opportunity could become. So we had crossed $100 million in annual recurring revenues, and we were being celebrated as a successful startup. And obviously for a startup to go from 0 to 100 million is a big deal. While we were celebrating and being celebrated, I started observing what next. And when I was on my trips to the US, I really realized that we have one shot to really take this company from where we are to where it could be. And there are so many examples of successful companies in the US that have not just seen scale, but scale and velocity. Like, how can you really go from 100 to a much bigger company in a span of few years? And so I thought, okay, there is a science in the valley. There are leaders who have been there, done that. And I wanted to marry the art of Indian entrepreneurship with the science of valley scaling. And that's when I decided, okay, it's important for me to move. And the reason for that is also, it's not just about hitting a big revenue number. I think the real reason for that is when you create a big company or a very successful company, what happens is you are creating impact, outsized impact for employees, right? So my answer, and by the way, the question that you asked was the number one question from all of my employees in 2018, like, why are you moving to the US? So my answer was, I'm doing it for me, I'm doing it for you, and I'm doing it for India. So when I said I'm doing it for me, I didn't want to sit back and celebrate 100 million. I wanted to learn from the best in the business. So the personal learning is the reason why I moved. When I said I'm doing it for you, the employee, I said, I want to create outsized impact in your life. Now, the only way to touch every employee, the frontline employee, and create meaningful wealth for them is to really make the company massive so that the pie grows so much bigger that everybody gets to enjoy the results or the rewards. The third thing I said, I'm doing it for India, is what happens when, let's say, thousands of employees have a lot of money, right? You actually spend the money. Some people will be investing in startups. Some people will be starting up on their own. Some people will donate it to charity. Some people will just spend the money. It's still okay. The economy benefits. So, and India needs more product companies, and that's a personal dream for me. So when successful people out of Freshworks go and start other companies with the money that they've made, or if they're hired for their experience with Freshworks because they have grown as leaders. So I think it's all good towards that cause of India as a product nation. So that's the reason why I moved, and I answered this in the town hall that I did it for me, I did it for you, and I did it for India.
Last year, and now it's more than a year, been extremely disruptive. How have you been striving to lead through this change?
One of the life lessons that I've learned is if you get caught in a situation, you just have to understand how big the problem is and find your way out of it, right? So find the available alternatives, try to pick the best ones, and always play to win. Some companies were more impacted than others, right? And so I actually say that COVID threw 4 different types of companies. You had vaccines, you have vitamins, you have ventilators, and you have victims. Now, we were fortunate enough to be on the vaccine or the vitamin stuff, right? Like if you think about Zoom, I would say Zoom is an example of a vaccine, right? Because personally, we can't run our lives and do our work today without Zoom. Similarly, Freshworks is fortunate enough that we were in the position of being a vaccine for businesses to be able to engage with their customers and employees in this time. But there are some travel companies that we know, if you're a hospitality chain or a airline, you are probably the victim, right? So, but it's also important to really understand where you can fall, or even find where is the opportunity.
You strike me as someone who's been talking about culture back when culture wasn't cool. Why is culture so important?
So I think culture is what differentiates any company. It's something that competitors cannot copy, and it's what defines who you are. And at the end of the day, a good culture actually means you're creating happiness during the journey, and it's not just about the destination, it's about enjoying the journey.
I think many of us have some kind of intrinsic understanding of what building culture would look like when there's a water cooler literally in the office. But in this new world where so many people are working remote, is that more challenging? Is it even possible to maintain a culture?
See, I think this is a question that's on the mind of every CEO that I have talked to, right? So how do you maintain culture and promote that sense of belonging for employees when we are all remote and we are jumping from Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting, right? But I think, as I said, the values are the same. So the message is the same, but the medium has to change. So I think my answer would be, like, 2 things are important. 1, what you say. 2, what you do, right? Employees are observing what you do, right? So if you say, okay, we are an employee first company, now is a great time to demonstrate it. When employees are like facing challenges in getting their work done with what's happening around the world, like, can you demonstrate as a company that you are an employee first company? If you say we believe in genuine relationships, like one of the things that we did at Freshworks last year when COVID happened, so we said we adopted a no one left behind strategy. So we promised no layoffs, but not only for employees, but we also took care of all the employees of our vendors, people who were serving food through our caterers, or people who were like running cab services for us. So we said these people's livelihoods depend on Freshworks, so we are not going to leave them behind. And these things actually created a more positive experience for employees, because they saw that the company was demonstrating its values. The medium has changed, and you have to adapt, but it's important to communicate constantly to employees, make sure people feel they are heard and that they belong.
So I've heard you speak about Kudumba before. Would you define it for us and talk about its importance here at Freshworks?
See, the word Kudumba comes from the Tamil word Kudumbam, which means family in Tamil. In Chennai, where Freshworks was founded, we speak Tamil, it's the official language. And so I thought it's a great way to remind everybody at Freshworks that, hey, we are an Indian company and we are proud of our heritage and roots, but also use the word to help people understand what brings us together. Like we are like family. And what does family mean here, right? We take care of each other, right? Family comes first. We are an employee first company. We also accept people as they are. What do we do at family? Like we accept our weaknesses. We want to win together. We want to celebrate together. We strive to work together, being there for each other. So that's what the spirit of Kudumba really means.
Thanks for joining us. For more information, visit freshworks.com.